Yeah, sorry about that, everybody.
Madam Chairman, I did not do the minutes, because it was a glitch.
Then you can't approve them.
You can't approve them.
Well, I didn't get them to that a day late, and then I had.
Let's do it next meeting.
Put next month.
Yeah, no
Okay, okay, thank you. No, I'll get them done tomorrow, but thank you.
Oh, we have Kelly Snow from the Palm Harbor Fire Department with us today.
Hello,
Nancy
Kelly.
McGibbon, Dulles County, I see her. Anyone else? Lots of staff, appreciate your all being here. We have a little special occasion coming up tonight, and the next part of our agenda. It's Lois's 25th anniversary. Everything, happy birthday to you.
Oh, boy.
Nobody else joined them. Now,
Well, we
you don't
would
want
have,
me
you
to do
wouldn't give us
solo.
a chance.
Shelby's gonna
Bad
have
lead-in.
something to say.
Bad lead in. Bring in the corpse.
Better be a birthday cake.
Look at it's hidden behind you.
Oh, I thought it was.
Behind the wall.
Oh,
Do you
want
door number 1 or door number 2?
I thought a guy was jumping out of a cake. is
Not
what I
dealing-
thought.
it's not dealing.
Like that? Like that. Never take the box. But it keeps on occasionally snaps in the box.
So, Lois, why don't you, come over here? Right at the end. Yeah, there you go.
Picture opportunity, picture.
Nobody does it better.
Stop it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
My phone.
Oh, perfect.
Of course.
Aw.
I am crying.
Those are happy tears, all right?
Exactly. Did you not like the cake?
Well, I want you in the picture.
Hold on one sec, we're gonna.
She wants you in it, so we're gonna do it.
Sure doesn't fall.
Hey, it makes it real.
Does she have to give a speech now?
Really.
Any words?
And then,
Wisdom.
Years you get fireworks.
Thank you. I enjoyed that.
It's a new fix-a policy, all about.
Fine and gold.
Sorry.
Beautiful.
Oh, nice.
I'd get rid of this Fitbit. Kids how many steps I
And there's something on the back.
Now that we're not going for the gold, you're right, Lois.
Yeah, don't get the amount of health benefits anymore.
Hey, so tell everybody what it says if you can make it out.
Sure.
If not,
Okay,
Shelby
it
can help
looks
out.
like, I see FIXA 25, right?
That is it.
Okay.
25.
Thank you all. Well, thank you both.
25 more, 25 more.
Okay.
So did we pull it off? Were you surprised?
Yes.
Excellent. I didn't mean to kick Dan out of his seat. That was not planned. All right, so I'm gonna put this in the back.
Okay. Okay.
With the cake, Lois, in New York, we have coffee. We don't have coffee, we have coffee.
Coffee, okay. I'll just walk right over.
You walk it. You walk it.
So no one's allowed to leave without cake.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, thank you, Lois. Thank you for putting up with me for 25 years.
You having a great time. You already put it in your book.
While we'll move on a little bit, and while we're on the sort of celebrations, I had talked with Lois, and next month, I'd like to, if you all agree, have a little reception before our meeting for the holidays. And in doing that, would somebody be willing to make a motion to move the meeting start to 6:30? We could have an hour, a little reception. Anyone?
Move to change the meeting time to 6:30 next month.
Second that.
Any discussion?
Well, how can we drink that at the reception if we have to have the meeting after?
We figured
Is there an
nobody stay.
agenda for that meeting?
We figured
Is there a
nobody.
list of
Yeah.
alcohol for the group?
Just saying.
Designated driver, is it gonna?
Is there always a December meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're one of those committee groups that.
We can have a little fun.
I mean, the
This was.
important meeting.
Are we gonna all bring a dish? Are we catering it? Are we making Lois have to do all this after 25 years?
Oh,
I heard she does great.
Yeah.
with eggplant
perfect
pepper.
balls, that's all you're getting from me then.
Perfect ball.
So,
Okay, I have to rethink
Okay,
these.
I moved there.
Yeah, Lois, we can't eat your cake. Save it for next month.
Saving it for.
Okay.
Oh,
Just kidding.
okay. Pop it in the freezer.
Should I move the Hallmark?
Like those wedding
party?
cakes.
Shut your mouth.
so, okay, all in favor? Can I do this?
Not yet. You took a, no, you haven't done that yet. You
I
haven't-
said comments, discussions, no, all in favor?
Aye.
Tell us what you want us to do.
Well, we know everybody be there at 5:30.
Okay.
That's what.
5:30 or 6:30?
5:30.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We'll do it.
All right.
Don, the meeting will start at 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah. The fun part's.
Just needed- I just need-
Lois, make the bourbon balls.
Oh, I already started this morning.
Ah, then we can have those.
Ah,
Forget the balls.
I'll be
Just
there.
bourbon.
Not on a good note. Celebrate with that. Okay.
So we designated
Agency rules and
drivers.
procedures, all I had was an update on our catalog run. How was it going?
It's not going very well. I don't think. As I've worked on it, first of all, I borrowed Lois's procedures and policies that she has been going. From what I hear, she and Jean had shared, and so they're probably pretty
Similar,
consistent.
yeah.
Here's the dilemma. They've already got a lot of the things that we're talking about doing. And I didn't get to recreation yet, but I'm sure you have that going on. And so my question suddenly becomes, this is sort of the same discussion we had at the workshop the other day. If the advisory boards are doing what we ask and we don't like the product, maybe it's what we're asking isn't appropriate. So I think we need to talk, not here, but soon, about how much do we really need? Because the things that we really are trying to capture are for just this group. And that's not gonna be nearly as many and big a thing, not just this group, but this group as it feeds down to the entities. So I just think we need to do a little more thinking about what we're gonna produce. A long time ago, Dan and others started capturing the motions, and a lot of them are nothing more than happy 25th anniversary, or we're gonna skip next month, or we're gonna do some special thing for this expense and so forth. And only a few of them actually end up being policy changes or policy directions. And so right now, on my desk at home, there's just this big pile of stuff that needs to be sorted out and go, what is a FICSA policy? And what areas does FICSA just say to the directors, you're doing fine, you've got a policy for that, keep doing it. And I am looking to see if we look at the four entities, if they're overlapping, contradictory, and so, there is work to be done, but the idea that we're suddenly gonna have a book that has everything, like a Bible with a little B, I don't see that happening quickly. So Bill has been helping me on some things, and that has certainly moved us along, but I think we might need a couple of other people to help understand what the final product needs to look like, so that we don't walk over what the entities have done and have been practicing for 5 years, 10 years, ever how many it is. How do we, I believe, based on, and I went back and read minutes for the last year recently for some other reason, and over and over again, it said, we don't know what the policy is, we need a policy. So what I'm saying is, in my report that I sent you late today, I still want to have a product by January, but I want it to not run over what the entities are already doing, because from everything I've seen, because I looked at their bylaws, I looked at their advisory board, things they've done, I looked at their procedures and all that. We just have to find a way to mesh that so that when we get to this level, we've captured what we want to do, what we need to do, so that everybody at the entities understands this is the fix of policy, but at the same time, keep doing what you're doing because you're doing a good job. So that was a very bad report. It's the worst I've ever done.
So I think this is a conversation we just had at our directors meeting with HR. Because each of us do have entity-specific policies that don't necessarily show up in our handbook. Am I right, Beth, in my recollection? So it would seem like you guys are probably duplicating efforts at this point. So I don't know whether there's a conversation that needs to be happening so that you're not coming up with one product and we've tasked Beth with, hey, come up with a product to go through all this so that it's not contradicting fix a policy.
And interesting, you should say that, Beth, and, what's her name over there? Shelby. We had a conversation about that, and, I'm not an HR professional. And I wanted a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at to be vetted by that. So probably the thing to do would be to just, again, make sure that we cover all the bases that need to be covered at the FIXA level, and leave the entities doing what they're doing when it's working. Bill?
Yeah, but just as a comment, because there's really three pieces of this. You've got the bylaws for FIXA, then we were talking rules and procedures for FIXA. That's just what we do as a board of directors, and it's very focused. Then the entities themselves, you're right, there's procedures that could be pulled into FIXA through HR. There may be things that are going to be left at the entities. You know, where's the rational place to start? Because if you look at this whole elephant, it's going to take us a long time to really frame it down and say who does what. You know, if we started with the rules and the procedures, just what we need for FIXA, and let the entities kind of do their own thing for the time being, and know that there may be some consolidation that makes sense. You know, from the HR handbooks to whatever it may be, there's some obvious things. Does that have to be FIXA approved, or is that the director's approved? Personally, it can be either one. I don't really, you know what I'm saying, because you guys are driving the ship on that one. But again, if we try to take everything on, you're talking, I mean, a big pile of stuff.
And that's what we kind of talked about when we had our meeting the other day.
But I was under the understanding that this whole project was at this board's level, not the entity level. So to answer, so
You're right.
leaving HR to HR and just the policies, procedures of this board be what was being reviewed. That's what the motions were. Were we changing ways that we're operating at this level, not on the entity level?
And those.
And leaving the entities alone.
That's a much smaller bite than what.
Yeah, makes sense.
I got in the weeds.
Yeah, because that was my understanding that was how this
You
was
and I
supposed to be.
can probably work some examples if you were interested in doing that.
Right. But here's the other thing. There is a role for the FIXA board and how it interacts with, let's say, the county, and then how the board interacts with the entities and all of that. But there's also a component of the entities reporting to the board, or interacting with the board is a better word. And so if we want the directors to do things differently than they are now, we need to establish that and say, here are the expectations we have. This year, we spent a lot of time talking about hiring and firing of directors. Well, firing directors is not something we need to think about right this minute. But at the same time, if you ever get to the point where you need to do that, or you want to do that, it would sure be a lot easier and a lot better if you had rules established so that you could say, Lois, you didn't do what we asked you to do. We're sorry. Not gonna be a 30-year anniversary.
Harsh.
But as you said, it's an elephant. And if you want to eat an elephant, how do you do it? What's the first thing you do?
One bite at a time.
Take a small bite. So you already identified a small bite is what we need to do to get at this level. The example is, like you just said, so far down, doesn't need to be addressed momentarily. It's just addressing what we're doing at this level.
That's why in my monthly thing, I said, I expect a product that we can look at and see if that's where we want to be in January. And that's my report. But I wanted to put the problems on the table for us all to think about and talk about. And any of you, directors, board members, I would love to talk to you between now and then, except for this next week where I'll be in Atlanta. And then let's do this and then let's button it up and move on to other things. I know, based on last year, we know we need to, I can't get that big word out, codify these things and get them down there someplace so that everybody knows the rules are the same and they fit for everybody. And then after that, then we're in a very unique situation here where you guys have jobs of your own, companies of your own to run, and all we are trying to do is help and make sure that things go in the correct direction. So that's where I am on all that.
Okay, so everyone's gonna send their input to Ron.
And listen, it's been lonely out there, so anything that any suggestion you'd like to have, I'd be glad to hear it and talk about it. And I'm gonna come out and visit Bill at Clearwater Beach in first week of December, and after that, we'll go all the way down the list, anybody who has time to sit and talk to me for a little while about this, because I'd like to get it wrapped up in January.
The good news is we don't have a separate policy and procedure manual.
You don't have any?
Just summer camp for,
Yeah,
which is a separate staff.
so I
So
don't know if that's good or bad.
it's great news. It's
You're
less for you to
probably-
work
you're
out.
probably-
We still share an employee manual, all four.
Okay,
Yeah.
errors were 70 pages long, and so.
We're
I'm
librarians,
so
what do you expect?
simple.
Yeah, brevity was never my strong suit.
And
Less is more for.
that would actually be my judgment of some of that. Some of it is really detailed, and may or may not be necessary, but that's what I have to say about it.
Okay, so we'll get your comments in. Public comments, anybody, did anybody sign up to speak? No? Nancy, you have anything for us? I'm sorry. Do you have anything for us tonight? No, okay, okay, that's fine.
Think on that one.
Right.
All right, so now we move to the treasurer's report.
Reports are done. Everything looks very good. Everyone, I don't see any anomalies on it. I did get an email from our new relationship manager.
What?
Cadence Bank.
What happened to?
And her name is Sharon DeLong, and I am actually meeting with her Friday at the Palm Harbor location, and we're going to be discussing all of the fun stuff that we've discussed over the past couple of months. And I am going to require her to go meet with the directors at your next directors meeting, so you guys can have at her.
What is her title?
She is the relationship manager.
She should buy us lunch, don't you think, guys?
Oh, I
agree.
We're
Wants
gonna
to
be,
increase the
definitely gonna lunch.
It would help the
Yeah.
relationship. I'll drop that hint.
Longhorns in the neighborhood. Saying.
That burns it.
Yeah, if you wanna scare her.
I'm gonna say it.
Huh?
Doesn't say temp before the job title,
Interim.
does it?
No,
Interim.
and the
Kinda
email
feels
came
like
out
it,
of the
Ron.
blue too. I
Sharon
was like,
DeLong.
what is
Get your
this?
free lunch quick.
Sure, not for long.
Long.
Sure, not for long.
Oh,
Wow, guys, let's give her a chance.
We got
But
the
anyways, that was good. That was, but anyways, I'm meeting with her on Friday, so I will email the directors. I'm gonna email you guys Friday afterwards with her contact information, and then we'll get something set up. I'll be at that meeting as well, so that way I'll try to be at that meeting as well. I should say that.
Definitely Longhorn then, right?
Sounds right.
So we got signature cards coming, I'm assuming?
I doubt,
Joke-
well, actually,
joking,
no, we
joking.
really should, because we don't have Tamara's signature on file.
It needs to happen.
I'll bring that up. That's, I'll put that on my list.
But it was electronic last time, so it should be a lot smoother
It
than.
should be, but again, we still.
So
have
Today.
So was the last relationship manager, but you know, that's.
So those are gonna be positive versus.
Well, he was the SVP. He wasn't the relationship.
Yeah, I was working on it.
That was up.
Yes, he had no relationships.
All right.
But that's my report, Madam Chair.
Okay, so do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's
Motion to
report?
accept the treasurer's report.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we move on to East Lake Library. Do we have a motion to accept the financial? Oh, I have everything here, I'm sorry.
That's for June.
I know, it should say October. I
We have
apologize.
June,
June's
July.
good.
That's June.
We have June and July in here. All right, yeah.
Just change it.
I'll make a motion to approve October's financial.
Thank you.
It was, Sandy, it was a test to see if everybody was paying
That's
attention.
it, that's it. Second, any discussion on East Lake Library's financials for October? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then we have the motion to approve the director's report for October.
I'll do that as well.
I will second that as well.
Flo?
Just some highlights. We have new air conditioning.
Yeah.
Okay, it was, very uncomfortable week while it was being installed, and of course it was delayed due to the hurricanes by 2 weeks, which of course impacted the cost of the dehumidifiers, which came to a total of $32,600. So I hope I will never have to do that again. Ballot drop off went smoothly, and even though both events were in November, I would like to point out that we had two back-to-back wonderful, successful events. The beginning of November, November 2nd was our murder mystery fundraiser at Wentworth Country Club. And even though we paid for an outside performing group to come in, a murder mystery group, and for the venue, everything went smoothly, and with sponsorships, which I thank the sponsors for, and raffle prizes and silent auctions, we cleared just about $3,000. So it was well worth it. Okay, a lot easier on us. And the following week, we had our 25th anniversary celebration, which was just a wonderful afternoon of, we had the East Lake High School Jazz Band, we had our edible book contest, the library card contest winners were announced and presented with their awards. And it was just a great day for everyone, having a good time. I thank you to those who could attend, and it was wonderful. So, even though that will be in the December report for November, I think I couldn't let it go by without saying how wonderful those 2 weeks were. And again, couldn't do it without the support of my staff and the board members, the friends and the foundation, all participated in this, as well as community partners like the Rotary Club and the robotics team. So good day overall.
Any questions or comments on Lois's report? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any new business?
Yes. You all got the
It
email?
said none, I don't
None.
have it.
I know, it just came up
Oh.
today.
Okay.
I have known for several weeks, but, she did not want to announce it yet, but, our esteemed assistant director, Susan, who I hired only months after I went over to East Lake Library, has, decided begrudgingly, it wasn't an easy decision for her to resign. She's returning to New York because of all of the issues with the hurricane damage to their condo and her mother's health issues and so on. I have only 2 weeks' notice. I just posted the position today. I am trying again to create a succession plan, but it's like built on quicksand, so, but we are
So you can't leave.
working.
So you
Yeah,
can't-
yeah, I was gonna try to beat her to the door, because I didn't have to worry about it.
Can't
Uh,
wait to
no.
get one in training for 5 years.
Yeah, so I will definitely, it is already posted in-house as well as locally on the Florida Library Job Line. So it may take some time, but I will certainly keep you all apprised of the situation. It also means reorganizing our organization in terms of tasks and responsibilities. She was an integral part of our team as passport coordinator. She was a genealogy expert. There is so much that she did, and she will be missed terribly. There are several parties for her, because we have to squeeze them all in 1 week. There is one on, the Children's Department is doing one on Wednesday, December 4th. And then we are having one that you're all invited to on Friday, December 6th at 5 p.m. in our community room. She is leaving. Her last day is the 7th of December. And then she is heading on the auto train on Sunday up to.
What time is the 4th? Because I can't do the 6th because.
The 4th is the community open house, anytime in the late afternoon, after school, from like 4 to 7. So, you're certainly all welcome to come. It'll be big shoes to fill. And I think that's one reason I've been stressed for the last few weeks, because I knew about it, couldn't say anything, and I was trying to move all the puzzle pieces around, but we certainly wish her well, and we understand that it was not an easy decision for her. So, that's all I have.
We don't need to vote on
No, she's leaving whether you vote or
If you're in
not.
shock, you're like, oh,
Yeah, I know.
You say no, but she's still going.
She's still gonna go.
Okay, we can't vote her in, make her stay.
Can't make her stay.
Okay, move on, Palm Harbor Parks and Rec, do we have a motion to accept the financials?
I move to accept the financials.
I'll second it.
Can we just make it October?
Yes, October. They're
October's
October, because I made
financials.
the errors here. Any discussion, questions? All in favor of accepting the monthly financial for October, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We have a motion to accept the director's
I move
report.
to accept the director's report.
I'll second that. Ron was otherwise I.
Well, I won't be brief this month. Sorry, a lot's happened since I wrote this. In my director's report, I wrote that a contractor was coming out by November 7th, and they did in fact come out by November 7th and remove the molding drywall that was in the damaged rooms at the center. We are still awaiting repairs. I do want to say, though, on public record, that the county has been fantastic to work with. When it rained today, the roof was leaking again. We had water intrusion again because the roofer put a second tarp on, but apparently didn't secure it enough to keep rain out. Picked up the phone, called the county, and the roofer is supposed to be coming out. I don't know if he came out today or tomorrow, but the point in that statement is that this is not an issue with Parks and Rec in the county. It's just everything all around. It just, the situation sucks. There's no way to put it nicely. We still don't have those 3 rooms. We're trying to start to pre-plan for summer camp, potentially with utilizing rooms that aren't really ready to be utilized, because we don't have a choice. Without that revenue, our budgets, you'll be firing me because we'll be in the red. We have experienced significant damage at Sunderman that we're still determining as we go on. About the $17,000 contactor box, well, we put that in and yay, it worked, but the transformer next to it didn't work. So now we've replaced that $850 part. And now some breakers aren't working. So it's the proverbial, saltwater intrusion is not your friend. Nancy, although didn't have public comment, should have said that she sent Mark and I believe the other directors emails about nonprofits being eligible for some public assistance through FEMA that the county is directing us to do. So I have since Monday applied, and our account has been approved, and thank God we got that sam.gov number because you need it. And your DUNS number, which I had buried somewhere, but now I've submitted the first damages and we'll see if we're approved for any help on reimbursement. I still don't have the invoices yet, and it's work in progress. So for FEMA, I called the contractor yesterday from home and said, please, I need the labor for those damages so far. We had issues. I don't know if it was Sunday night or Monday night. I think it was Monday night. I don't remember which night it was, where lights just started flickering for no reason. Well, now Duke Energy lost a leg, and so it caused 5 lights on our covered court to go out. Again, don't know if that can be linked to the electrician said they'll let us know, but Duke has restored their leg, and now we have to restore the 5 lights under the covered court that aren't working. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. God bless Helene. And it's hard to believe that was September because she keeps biting us in the hand that feeds us. But in spite of that, and in spite of having a Red Cross shelter, and in spite of hosting 24,000 early voters plus ballot drop off, hundreds of voters a day, we still held a very successful Halloween event that we moved at the last minute over to the center. And we still hosted an amazingly successful Touch a Truck, probably the best attended in my 21 years. I don't know how long we've been doing Touch a Truck, but 15 years we've been doing it. We co-hosted it with a community member that got, we got thousands of dollars donated. So the Touch a Truck was done 100% with private money. We got over, Trish, correct me if I'm wrong, $7,000 donated?
I believe it was 8, but. Yeah.
Okay, so between $7,000 and $8,000, and we did a completely free community day. And there had to be at least 4,000 to 5,000 families with littles and teenagers that came out. And so we asked that community member if they'd be interested in partnering with us next year and doing the same type of thing. And she said yes. So, and then our tree lighting, unfortunately, is the same day as Susan Schuler's send off. So go over there and then come to the tree lighting on the 6th. And we're unfortunately, because of, it keeps happening, the hurricanes, our vendor that does the real snow had damage to their equipment. So we're not having real snow this year. It's not the end of the world. I'm sure we'll get a little pushback, but
Maybe it'll snow.
yeah, maybe it'll snow or not be 80 degrees. So we'll do the fake snow, which is how we started that event anyway. And lastly, Matthew and I are sitting on, I think we told you this last month, the downtown Palm Harbor Main Street group. And we have decided Matthew's going to head up one of the committees and I'm going to sit on his committee. So we're either going to hate each other after this or really get close. What are we on, the organization committee?
Yeah, we'll see what that means. We don't know what it means. We're gonna figure it out.
You know how when you're at an auction and you hold your hand down, I forgot to hold my hand down and I volunteered to be their treasurer, so God help him. And Matthew's gonna be my assistant treasurer. He just didn't know that at the time. But Nancy, what was the other thing that happened tonight with the trail thing? Cause you know that better than I do.
Trail.
Sorry.
Trail down.
There's a program through Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and it's called Trail Town. And if you are a city and you have a trail and you do things to promote it and the businesses support it, like they do in Dunedin, which Dunedin is a trail town, you can be one too. So even though Palm Harbor is not incorporated as a city, the state said there were no rules against an unincorporated community being a trail town. And Pinellas County did not have any problem with Palm Harbor using the Pinellas Trail as their trail because the Pinellas Trail is owned by Pinellas County. Looks like we have a green light to become a trail town. And
I thought that's pretty exciting.
we get our name on the map, a spot on state sponsored map, and
Stickers.
What about Eastlake?
Very cool, very cool.
What about Eastlake? We're in the trail system too.
You need a downtown.
we'll have, do you have businesses that support it? I don't know, we'll have to look at it. But that's a good point.
And lastly, real quick, I think this came up at this board, maybe not, maybe it was the advisory board, but just for this board's FYI, staff is putting out bids for our lawn services. And we've got what's the word I'm looking for? It's an RFP, but not really an RFP of what we're getting provided for now. And we're putting it out to 2 other companies to see the 3 competitive bids together and how it'll work, if we should stay where we are, if we should go to another company, if we should even consider bringing it back in-house. So we're working on that, and hopefully by the first of the year, we'll have those bids in and a decision. Any questions?
How about the big tree?
The what?
The tree
Big tree.
down on the building.
Well, the tree's been gone for a while. It's just holes in the roof and sheets of plywood broken, and it just, the process through the county, and I don't understand it, so I don't want to misspeak, but I have asked Frank, who I've been working with significantly, to become very good friends on the phone. It has to go through a specific process, especially for them to get FEMA reimbursement for that roof. So we're waiting for procurement and all the things, and then they'll start at the roof and then repair down to the floor again.
I was out there when they were taking the tree off. Is the damage to Mr. Contractor, what's that thing called?
Trusses,
The
yeah.
trusses,
The
they-
trusses, and then what that trusses will sit on.
well, it broke.
There's
it
4
broke-
trusses
It
that are
broke the
broken.
trusses, so they have to get engineering to repair the trusses.
Which they've had structural engineers out there twice. Yeah, I can't remember her name right now. off the top
Then they
of my
fix
head.
it, then they resheet it, then they re-roof it.
This goes back. I'm interested in that, not that you care about my personal life, but
Ron?
my brother and Brandon had a very similar tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize, but they broke the concrete out back. They're actually coming on Saturday to repair the concrete sidewalk that they did. When they dropped the tree off the roof, they miscalculated by about this much and shattered the sidewalk. So
Well,
they're
I
fixing
was
that.
watching them work and it was very hard work.
It was,
You don't think how heavy
nope,
a tree is
Nope.
until it falls on your roof.
yep.
And you had, I mean,
Or your
seriously, you have no idea. It was as big as this thing right
Yep.
here, laying up on the roof, and I thought they did a pretty decent job of
They
lifting
did.
it
They
and
did.
locking things. But at some point, gravity takes over.
It
and
does.
that's what-
So I'm just really super thankful nobody was hurt.
It
Buildings
was,
can be replaced.
it was a very bad thing.
It
Well,
was.
and her staff as well as Erica, you know. They went over to Putnam and they took a tree off, I mean, a huge tree.
Very similar in
fell-
size.
Similar in size, fell on the building at Putnam. And they went over and they cut it up and pulled it off the roof over there, and there was significant damage to that roof as well. So,
We were just lucky.
Question, Dan?
Can you expound on the SAM? What it means for FEMA, this SAM number, just to refresh my memory on that.
I wish I knew what that stood for. I don't remember, but it's a number it's a
it's a-
specific identifier through the federal.
It's a
I-
registration.
I think what's happened is, for any kind of federal funds, you have to have the SAM.gov number. And although we tried repeatedly as individual entities, okay, it had to go in as FICSA, even though we do FICSA, DBA, Eastlake Library, or whatever. Matthew was finally successful and able to get a SAM.gov number. My concern is, and luckily, neither Matthew nor myself nor Mark needed to apply for FEMA aid, because my concern is if you've got one SAM.gov number for all 4 entities, they may not see us as 4 individual entities.
It's done by location on that,
Yeah.
public. Yeah, so like Pop Stanzel had damage as well. So far, not as
Mm.
significant as Sunderman.
Yeah.
I've just quantified the Sunderman damage. So you would just go under the same .gov number and you would put Palm Harbor Library.
Yeah.
Or you'd put Eastlake Rec, whatever location. I
Mhm.
believe, I don't know if
Yeah.
I even did everything.
It's for any type of federal funds.
Yeah, for applying for those types.
For
of-
grants or.
Right,
anything.
even Florida Humanities Council grants. You
So we
have to have
don't
a
have
SAM.gov
separate entity numbers as a result
No,
of this. So
because of the FICSA number, because
then
of the
that means
FICSA.
that the FICSA board should be, or the 4 entities should be coordinating their efforts on this so that we're not submitting simultaneous FEMA applications.
In some
case in
cases,
point,
yes.
If you get your roof, you both put it in, they might be. confused.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know,
But
that's
if
always
Erica's
been my
right, and you
concern.
can just say it's this entity, this entity, this
Yeah.
entity,
Mm.
then that means the 4 entities should be working together on that so that
Mhm.
it's not in
Right.
drips and drabs.
Right, but luckily in this case, I don't think any of us.
But that's
had
for
any
grants
damage.
as well.
Well, this is
That's
considered
for
a
federal
FEMA grant.
grants.
That's
Yeah,
what this is
it's
considered.
Okay,
public
so
assistance.
that is an issue that I could foresee happening down the road,
Mm-hmm.
particularly for a library program. You know, we already got yours at the library. Well, what about Palm Harbor Library?
Mhm.
Did Eastlake beat them to the punch? I see that being an issue.
It depends on how the grant is structured. I mean, we
Mhm.
talk pretty regularly. If any of us was applying for a big grant,
Mhm.
I think we'd be talking about it with each other at the monthly meeting that we have.
Mhm. I
Um,
think we also had that issue with the ARPA grants.
I don't think our SAM.gov numbers are the same. I just looked in my email. Mine's different than yours. So mine starts with a T and yours started with like an H.
Yeah.
So I think we have different numbers.
Oh.
maybe.
I
So
thought-
yours is
So
H
it's
S than
just,
you.
it's just.
And here's,
Matthew and I
and this
that
is the one I
share.
just used and they found me.
So I haven't applied for that.
Mm.
So
So we'll have to.
they're different. I mean, at
Okay,
least
so
yours
I
and mine are
thought they were
different.
all-
'Cause I don't know.
I thought they were all the same.
I mean, I.
Well, we
when
used,
I had-
we used the SAM.gov number that Matthew got for, which I assumed was FICSA,
I didn't
to get our Florida Humanities Council grant for programming, for presenters.
We have to go back, so, for Erica's
I'm sorry.
director's report. So Anyone have any more questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? East Lake Parks and Rec, the monthly financials for October, with a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, we need a motion to accept East Lake Parks and Rec's Director's Report.
Make a motion.
A second.
Second.
Mark,
So a lot of things, fix up type things going on at the ballpark. Our football scoreboard, we got that re-erected after the storm. I got it painted and, new decals put on that, so that's looking good. We're power washing. We had to take all of our, shade structures down, or the canopies down. So I had all those, had all those power washed. Now we're putting those back up. We did some tree removal. We just did that in-house. There were smaller trees, but just a lot of branches and debris from the storm. We started disassembling the bleachers, and we got the new bleachers for our MSTU grant. So we're taking the old ones apart right now. We received some bids to repair and seal coat our main parking lot. So I plan on going with a firm, rather than redoing the whole parking lot. I think it's in good enough shape where we can get by with some repairs and a reseal. So probably be starting that. I hired a company that's, that I've used in the past. So, and that bid was under 10,000, so we're good there. See. Oh, putting in, replacing, lights, parking lot lights out at Meadows Complex. They are just there with new fixtures. And we're painting all the shade structure frames, our fall poles, go posts, and all that stuff that we're getting done now, and just trying to get everything looking good again. So I think the parking lot will make a big difference, you know, once they get seal coated, they look so nice. December 7th, from 5 to 9, baseball, is having, a movie night with games celebrating the end of their season. So it's from 5 to 9, the movie's at 7:30, there's free popcorn for that, they're having food games. Team basket raffles, so if you're not doing anything that night, you wanna come out, it would be awesome to have you out there. Main thing I wanted to talk about was our expansion project out at the Meadows, trying to add more fields and concession building, restrooms. What we need to do is get it surveyed. I talked about this before, all this, the process that we have to go through, and before we can even put a shovel in the ground. And so we're working on that, working with county, working with Nancy, working with Thomas Engineering. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in under new business.
okay. Any questions for Mark, comments? All in favor of accepting Mark's Director's Report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. You had new business, old business?
New business that I sent out, or had Shelby send out today. Hopefully you received it. If not, I have hard copies. It's of a bid for surveying to be done. I'm asking for up to $45,000 for the survey to be done. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be that much. Because there's a boundary survey, there's a topographic survey, and there's a tree survey. And I think, I'm hoping I can just get away with the topographic survey and use the survey from that we have with the county from previous years. And so I'm asking for up to $45,000 for that. If it's just the topo survey, it'll be more like 29,000. But that'll give us some room. And I don't really know what that's gonna be yet until
I get some more answers, and maybe Nancy, maybe you can help me out with, explaining what we're trying to do.
I think first and foremost, Mark's, and his advisory board are hoping to ultimately submit a site plan for review for this, expansion to the development review services at the county. And that's anybody who does any development anywhere in the county has to submit. And there's a checklist that you have to have a boundary survey. So that was one of the things that was on Mark's scope of service for his surveyor. Well, in 2013, the county performed a boundary survey on the entire parcel. It's 99 acres that's owned by the county. Mark's not going to improve all of that. But we're going to see if DRS will accept that. Normally, if it's older than 5 years old, they won't, but Paul Kazzy, who's the director of Parks and Conservation Resources, would appeal to DRS saying, nothing's changed. We've owned this parcel since 2007. Maybe you could make an exception. We'll see what DRS. If not, we could probably have that surveyor recertified. It may not cost as much as redoing all that effort. Mark is going to need a topographic survey of the area that his engineer wants to design improvements on. That's a given. He needs to do that. We also need some sort of legal description of the area that Mark plans to improve to amend the license agreement for Eastlake Recreation to be able to use that county-owned property. So like I said before, he's not going to improve, what's left of the 99 acres. He's got a very, a certain footprint that's going to have to be identified, and the county, that's identified by his engineer of what are the limits of construction. We're going to put 2 feet of soil on the fields, but we got to have a grade, down to existing ground, and then maybe he's gonna put sod or a fence 5 feet beyond that. So we need that footprint. The county will prepare that legal description, and then it will come back to PHCSA for executing the amended agreement. 3 different things, but you should not need the whole, whatever that scope is written for to begin with, you should not need the entire pay for another.
Yeah, and thanks for helping me with that. So I guess,
I make a motion to approve up to 45,000 for the Alta survey for the up to 99 acres as outlined in the description sent today.
You actually may want to go, there's $500 for additional fee on your quote for drawings or something, which would put it over that 45,300 range. So maybe you want to do 46,000.
sure.
I mean, well, because I mean, if you need the drawings, you need the $500 for it. That's what I'm saying. They didn't add it together. They
Well,
yeah.
this whole process is gonna be very expensive because like I said, by the time, that's just one survey. And then there's the geotech survey, there's environmental survey, there's wetland permitting. All those add up to over $200,000, like I said, before you put, a shovel in the ground. Now, hopefully we can get some of that, the prices down with the help of the county and some of the stuff that hopefully they can help us with. But,
That's why I put that little incentive at 45 and no change, but if necessary, I don't know. Does anybody care? I mean, are they gonna squeeze you for the extra $220? I got approved for 45K. Let's go.
I second.
There we go.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So it's just the 45K, right?
thank you.
Okay. On Harbor Library, do we have a motion to accept the monthly financials for October for Harbor Library?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
All right.
Got it. I've been quiet on this.
Okay, no question. All in favor of approving the financials for October, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have a motion to accept the director's report in October.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
All right. All right, try not to think about cake. I'll make it quick.
We're only halfway through this.
I shouldn't have said anything. Actually, I'm gonna throw over to Kathy Wast for our first mention.
We had back in what seems like forever, September 27th, we had our double reschedule Montessori and Maze at the library, which was a Friday night where the kids from the school come after hours and invade the library for the click games and scavenger hunts all around the library. And we had 213, despite.
Wow,
I can't believe that. Fun was had by all.
Absolutely, yeah. We were hoping to get at least 100, 150 after that reschedule from the storms, but we were blown away. So facility wise, we have a very old door. Not old in terms of even years, but yeah, it's at the point where we're only able to replace with refurbished parts. But we've been keeping it going, but we've looked, last couple of years, we have had several like larger than we would like bills. We're looking at, we just had one recently again. And then now we've got one coming up in a couple more weeks, so each time could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it actually is. And so now we're looking at maybe a full replacement option. So we're looking to see if that's a possible, county ask, or what else we need to do. But that's, if you ever see the doors propped open here during the day, it's because of that, that ongoing maintenance thing that we're dealing with. But of course, if you leave the doors propped open, that lets the heat in, puts straight in the air conditioner. And I want to talk about air conditioner, but send Lois into a shock here. But anyway, so that's kind of the next big capital thing that we're looking at here. MSTU is still in, I don't know if I could use the word progress. That's what's in my report, but we're trying to get there. We've just had some terrible luck, first with delays and then with a little bit of damaged parts that came in from the vendor. We're just trying to get that done. And so, you can see some of the shelves put together out there. They do look nice. They'll look nicer when they actually have the end caps in there, the proper wheels, but it's ongoing. So we're still trying to move that across the finish line, and hopefully this time next month, that will be the case, but we're keeping our fingers and toes crossed on that. Quick reminder, somebody can vouch for the value of our bookstore, because he frequented it earlier this evening. But that's a great place for the holidays. Please spread the word on that, because things are really cheap in there, but it's not just books and CDs and DVDs. There's also these great gift baskets that the Friends of the Library put together that are like instant gift. You can just pick it up and give it right away, whether it's for the holidays or anything else. And I think that is all I will pull out of the report.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor of accepting Matthew's report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, we're at HR report. Did we cover reports? No, okay.
Good.
We don't have a report.
Work to approve.
I reported to them last week
But we
for an hour,
sorry.
sorry. 48 minutes, it wasn't a whole hour. Close.
Ron, did you kind of give us report earlier? Do you have anything else?
I did want to say, I went around after the storm and I saw what the damage was. I saw what the troops were doing, and listen, way to go.
Thank you.
Seriously, it was ugly, and we got through it quickly and got back to business the way it should be. I think I put some of that in my report, but I was very impressed with what I saw.
Madam Chair, if I could just say, we decided to keep Beth because she's doing a phenomenal job in the HR. So even though she didn't report,
Okay.
we didn't let her go
You
after
didn't let her
60
go.
days.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's clear for 60 minutes.
And I'm gonna tell you, what do we call them? The dynamic duo? They're part of the
Dynamic
Fix
duo.
the Six now.
Yeah, 6 to 6.
Yeah.
Okay, like it.
Doing a great job out of that place. I think we should get capes or something.
We can go over to our children's department.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Anyone make a motion to accept the liaison report?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any comments, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good. Okay, now we get into our agency items. We didn't have old business, but we do have new business. I'm gonna throw this over to Shelby, the conflict of interest.
We have the conflict of interest policy that is an annual, and I do need to get everybody's signature on this. I suspect some of you know it by heart, so I didn't bring enough copies for everyone, but I can have it on your screen tomorrow morning. Or I have some copies with me and I can easily go make more. Is there anybody, Tamara, I'll get you a policy because you're gonna be signing here that you read it and you understood it. Anybody else need a policy? I have some printed out. Or do you all mostly know it? And I would like to just send this signature page around. Anybody have any questions about the conflict of interest policy?
There's no changes to it from last year, right?
No, there are no changes. Thank you. Yes.
No. It's a policy you have to fund, just maybe for Andy, if my wife takes on the assistant library director position, would that be a conflict of interest on Lois's review?
No, but we just insulate you from certain votes potentially.
So I could abstain if you'll vote.
Well, remember, if you abstain, you have to file a form. So you don't want to abstain.
You want to be.
That is not happening. My wife's not a librarian, but
I mean, you thought you'd ask the question, right? Hypothetically.
No, it's
Yeah,
just.
still
trying to figure out how to
And
abstain
there
from
probably,
voting.
I think, and there probably isn't any, but like general votes don't affect you. You don't have a problem with that. So if it, if you're voting on.
but I would personally have a problem with voting on her performance and salary if she's determining my wife's.
We can talk about that.
Wait a minute.
Because there might be, I mean, there's certain things we may be able to carve out. Too. We would have to just look into it.
So by signing this, I would have to come to the board to say there's been a change.
Right.
And identify that.
Right.
Okay.
Other questions on the conflict policy? That's the signature sheet is coming around.
If she's interested, the University of Illinois has a great library school, so I can give you the information.
Okay.
So does Florida State.
Yokes.
Why would you bring up Florida State?
My daughter,
Oh, yeah, my dog too.
she got her library. I know for a fact.
You could just say that school up there.
Okay.
Yes, it's up there.
We like
Okay.
all schools.
Now we
Except
get
the
into
U.
our
Let's stop.
director's reviews. We're gonna start with Palm Harbor Fox and Rec.
I'll leave now. See you guys later.
And we need a motion to accept the director's review.
Motion to accept her review.
Second.
Any discussion? And then we had a workshop.
I
Seconded.
I wasn't there,
Yeah.
so I apologize. I'm sorry I wasn't. I just have a couple,
Seconded. Ron, thank you.
I have a couple of questions for, which one are we doing?
Erica.
So, Bill, did you guys do any employee feedback as part of yours?
We did not.
Okay, and then, did you include I'm thinking of the things that we had issues with, it's like library, so, the goals that were in that form. Did you guys set those? Did you, I don't know if you left it blank or not.
There were comments made about the goals. They weren't specifically listed in the meeting we had last Wednesday. We discussed that the Parks and Rec Advisory Board is going to be establishing a better way to track the goals and measure them, both short and long term, and be more specific with each individual property that's owned or managed within Parks and Recreation. So we did feel that there was a little bit of a disconnect in that. However, we felt that every goal that we had set for her had been met and beyond. And she actually, in her personal review, her self-review, she actually had statements about that if you read through it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get a feel for that process because that goal setting was difficult for us. And it was new and it wasn't a requirement, so I wanted to get a feel if your board had the same issue.
Well, because we were so we got the review done on time and submitted and signed. I just want to make that.
I have
acknowledge that.
acknowledged that all over town.
But we did have issues because we couldn't get to, our meetings were messed up and I was out of town. So the goals part of that, it's something we have to do in person and in our meeting, and we just didn't have the time to get it all done. So we're gonna take that back up. So I understand the problem, but I think we've got a map to get to those, and I think you'll see a good list of goals which will be submitted.
Just Dan,
Just later.
you missed the workshop. During our workshop, we did decide we're gonna have another workshop on that after the first of the year.
On
As
the
a-
process.
On the process as well as the job description. So we did address it during our workshop and we kind of pushed it out after the first of the year, but we are gonna.
And since we're the first one to stick our neck out here and you're asking the questions, I do have to admit that we had a better input because of the way the reviews were done this year, that, I gave every single one of my advisory boards had the form, being that it was electronic, they could, do it via email and submit it. We got a lot better response. We got a lot more comments back. It was a lot more thorough, in my opinion, and in Erica's when I had the discussion with her. And so I thank you all, the board, as much kicking and screaming that went into it, and I know we haven't changed the questions, and we're still working with the same 1 to 5 rating, but the overall input that we got back was so much better and so much more on time. I keep saying that because I get so much grief for not being on time. But it went over a lot better this year. And then also the one thing, that I was against, or I didn't really see the need, was the individual reviews that we did for each of the directors, which actually was beneficial. And I'm glad we did it. So, sorry, I kind of went on there.
I had one more question. Did you guys understand or struggle with, speaking for myself, projecting here, the star rating? Because I had some advisory board members go with 5, just, they didn't realize that we kind of changed the categorization 1 to 5 in those definitions.
Well, the 1 to 5 rating, the way it reads, doesn't really help us that much. It didn't really change things enough to really reset it. So you're still going with the same, you're still at the same place. So we need to probably discuss that a little bit further. There wasn't a real reset to you're still pulling from years past and you're not looking at it differently, so to speak. And then if you read the ratings, if you go, you got to be careful when you go with it, because it depends on how you feel about your director. If they're a role model, which, I'm sure we all think they are, then you're going to be in the upper 4s.
Any other questions or comments on the third review? All in favor of accepting it, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to East Lake Park and Rec.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, Dan, you were just slow.
We didn't have any employees to do the feedback on. But did you guys have any trouble with the rating, the 1 through 5, different than the past years?
No, and I brought this up at the workshop, our only issue is we're so different from the 3 others that some of the things don't really apply to us. So that's the only struggle we have, but I'll go along with what Phil said. We think everything is been the same for 6 years now for us, whatever, so.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor of accepting the director's report for East Lake Parks and Rec, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, East Lake Library. We need a motion to accept. the
Motion to accept. Second.
Okay. Any questions or? Questions, discussion, Dan?
The only issues that we had really were, I felt getting that, I normally vote against it, and I was planning to vote against it, this year, just because I don't like the process. But we did the employee feedback and that changed my opinion on the data, because it brought up a very interesting discussion at the advisory board level, because none of the advisory board members are employees. So we were constantly in the past answering questions about the employee feedback and how she interacts with staff, and we really had no idea. So we just gave her 5, because we didn't hear any problems. But we actually were able to get that feedback from the staff, which was useful. And then as for the ratings, you know, the 1 being needing really a lot of help and 5 walk on water in a way, role model. I changed mine and a few others changed theirs. But afterward, when talking about it, we were starting to realize that not everyone was on the same page. So it wasn't so much that the star rating was confusing, it was just, we all had different versions of what we thought a 5 was. So the data this year, I think skews higher than I think, based on my interpretation. So that I do want to do a separate meeting to debrief on the whole process, but I'm happy to say I feel good about this process this year.
Any other?
I would just like to apologize to the board because I misinterpreted the rating system. And I thought it was what it was previous years. And no, I don't think I walk on water when I did my self-assessment. And I asked Beth to please express that at the workshop, because I gave myself higher numbers than what I thought it should be in reality, because I interpreted it from what it was in previous years. So no, I don't think I will.
We can stop calling her Jesus.
Yeah, you wouldn't have recognized me without my sandals.
It's your come to lowest moment.
So I apologize.
Any other comments or discussion? All in favor of accepting the East Lake Library record review, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And Palm Harbor Library, do you have a motion?
Motion to accept.
I second that.
Any discussion? Dan?
Bill, did you do an employee survey?
Well, we did, and just a quick comment on that one, we probably need to get the surveys, you know, unified between us all. Because we had a staff one and we had the advisory boards also, we got feedback from our advisory boards. And so we did one at the 6-month process when Matthew was here for all the employees, we were ready to do another one for him. We wanted to decouple it from the performance review though, it's good feedback. And it's part of the continuous improvement cycle going forward, but I'm not sure if it'd be as, you know, a strong rating that actually links into it. The other thing, when we did ours, we took it right from SHRM and the questions, and we can debate the questions and what they are. But, you know, there's no biased nature to the questions. That's the only thing you gotta be careful with the types of questions you're selecting, because you could actually steer them in a way that you're not comfortable. And so that's why with your help, Beth, I mean, I gave Ron a copy of the 2 surveys we did. You know, at some point, we should reconcile those into something. We've talked about it for the last year and a half to 360. You know, so I think, you know, with your help, we should be able to hopefully come up with one standard form for the employees and one standard form for the advisory boards. And then what the timing of that feedback should be. I think that's important. I really do. The other thing with when we did our review process, you know, we looked at the objectives and the goals going forward, and we took that right from their annual service plan. Now, is there enough robust goals within there? And that's Matthew and I and Sharon, we've had that discussion and debate. We have to fine tune those a little bit, because again, if you're looking at objectives, there should be vital 5 to 7 objectives that each person's taken on. And this is where I'm gonna put my hat against, I'm gonna measure my success against. You can have a lot of other things on it. That's the normal stuff you're doing for your job. What are the objectives that you're trying to achieve? That has to be clear and foremost. The improvement goals too. We put improvement goals from last year's performance review. I don't think any other teams actually put improvement goals. What are the 5 things that we want to improve about the library or Rex or whatever it may be? And it's not nasty stuff. It's just that this is the stuff that we need to pay more attention to. And some of that may come from the 360s perhaps. You know, but literally, you know, that's the only way I would probably link it. I wouldn't rank it, but I might link it that way, which is interesting to me. The Google star rating, I did do a Google star rating. I had no issues finding it. There were 64 inputs for the Palm Harbor Library on your watch. You know, most of them Out of those, 63 were 5 stars and 1 was a 4.9 stars.
What is
There was
wrong with
no
you?
negative comments in there. Every one of you, I looked at every one of you have them. And so if the advisory boards took the initiative to do it, we could have done the Google star rating. I'm not saying that's an important one, because you were thinking something different back a year and a half ago. We were gonna scan our own codes in to try to get customer feedback. Because again, we got 3 levels of feedback we're dealing with right now. We write it to the advisory board. The FIXA board actually is providing feedback this year through that survey. So we had those inputs. Then in addition, do we have customer feedback? The public that we're serving today, do we provide feedback? Then you sprinkle in a couple 360s, I'm telling you, it's a home run for us, guys. You know, it really is. It gives us a lot of information on how well we're doing, how well, you know, from a county, entity standpoint, we're spending $5 million. I mean, are we spending it wisely? I'd say yes, we are, but that just gives us some substantiation on the process. Let's see, and just the goals, we're gonna try to nail those down in January sometime, Matthew, to kind of go forward, and we're gonna look at the goals on a quarterly basis to see how we're doing on the annual goals. And that is pretty much, I didn't talk about any of the FIXA board inputs, and no one else did either, so that's not part of the official review
No, it's
process.
not.
Because we didn't sign off on it, and it was just it was a survey, if anything. Beth, you've got them, they're gonna be decoupled from the physical review. But we may wanna tighten that up over the next year or so, but I thought there was good feedback. Matthew had from 2s to 5s, there was a nice spread across that process. I've got copies of it, we'll sit down, we'll chat about it, so anyways.
We are gonna address that,
Yeah, that's
that whole process.
Yes, the whole
Fine tune
process
the
later.
process a little
Yes,
bit
yes.
more
Right.
next year, but we move forward. Any other comments on the library? All in favor of accepting the library, Palm Harbor Library's director's report, say aye. Opposed? Passes.
Madam Chair, can I just ask a question unrelated to his review? So, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
I have a copy of what you sent out 18 months ago with a 360-degree feedback leadership behaviors. Is that not something we could be using to get staff feedback?
Well, we certainly could use that one. That's 360. The only thing I would focus on right now, I would love for you to review it.
Can I send it to you, Beth? Because I have it up and then.
Because there is, they asked the question like 4 different times.
Right.
I don't know if we need to ask the same question 4
Right.
different times, the 3 different areas, and see if there's some consistency there. So we may be able to pare down the questions slightly,
Let's
but that
kind
is the survey we're still using, yes.
Because I would like feedback from my staff.
Well, let's kind of move that to our workshop.
Okay.
Well, let's deal with the one we did this
No,
time.
that's
and
fine.
That's all for next year. We'll get to it. We have a workshop, we'll get to that too. Okay, we had talked at our workshop about directors' bonuses. Would somebody like to make a motion on that account?
How would you like it phrased?
You make the
Make the
motion.
motion with the amount.
I don't recall the amounts, but we can go over the amounts.
No, no,
It
no,
was
it was one amount for bonus.
It was 5 grand.
Oh, yeah.
5 grand.
No.
No. 5% from the video.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for $1,000 for each director bonus. I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Opposed?
Thank you.
And that will be paid. We said second,
The next check.
the next.
Next check is-
Okay, director's compensation. We are now moving to Palm Harbor Parks and Rec. Can we get a motion? I guess that would be good. Somebody make a motion.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
little bit more explanation, I think, should go into this portion of the meeting. We met at a special meeting last week, at a workshop. We discussed reviews at length. We discussed compensation at length. We discussed merit versus bonus versus nothing versus budgets versus job tasks, job duties, what our directors have done. And guys, if I'm saying any of this wrong, add to what I'm saying, but we, for everybody in the room's sake, our directors and our HR group, this was not a quick decision on the bonus amount or the merit raises that we're going to be recommending tonight. there was quite a bit of discussion that went into it. And positive and negative on all sides,
It was
so.
about 2 hours.
So what
2.5
what we
hours.
bring to you tonight from each of the advisory board representatives, and I guess we're gonna be the ones putting
I
this
think
forward,
that's fine.
was a unanimous meeting decision, it's not something coming from me, it's coming from our board. So with that, I recommend a 6% merit raise, increase in salary for the Palmer Parks and Rec director,
Second.
Effective,
Okay.
effective January 1st.
As amended.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
For East Lake Parks and Rec. East Lake Parks and Rec.
He was verified.
Oh, it is verified, okay.
Exactly.
Oh,
I know, because I couldn't remember either.
I make a motion that we, give Mark a 4% increase.
Second. Effective.
January 1st.
January first paycheck to our boss.
Sorry.
Any discussion?
This is an increase in salary.
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
East Lake Library. Need a motion.
Make a motion to.
Dan wasn't at the workshop. so you may not-
In
Make a motion
Dan's
to provide
absence,
it.
we discussed it, we went through, I make a motion that the East Lake Library Director receive a 5% increase effective January 1st.
Any discussion?
I wasn't there, obviously.
Second again.
The,
Your advisory board
President.
president was there.
of course, and, my concern with this is that it seems arbitrary, and mainly because it wasn't there. I'm hoping that going forward, that we can use the goals that were set or not set. The goals that should be set in each of these entities, and then compare it against those goals, then determine whether or not.
That was part of our.
That's gonna be part of our workshop.
That was
coming up, Dan, that was discussed in depth, that we do need to have goals assigned or set for the directors for us to be able to compare and review. We don't have that currently. That's why all the advisory boards, and yours included, are gonna go back and develop those, and that is going to become part of the review process during the workshops that we're gonna have in the next year.
As an alternative, that we use exceptional revenue generating instances for each of the entities throughout the year in replacement for those goals that weren't set yet.
Right.
So review 2.0 coming out 2025 will be a component of all of the elements that we put together in the workshop, including those goals that will be set now that will measure like next year.
And we'll base it based on the autopsy we're gonna do on this year's reviews in the workshop, and then building off of that.
So then we need to move that process up quickly, because these directors are already 2 months into the new year.
Bill is dying to make that happen, that workshop.
But there's,
So we are good to go.
There's more.
There's more to it.
There's more to it than that too, because the other thing that we all agreed is that even though we've had within the last 2 years, an update on job descriptions and salary ranges, it's very lacking. The support that goes behind it is really not documented correctly, that we've asked our HR department to do a deep dive into the salary ranges and the comparison better than we've had in the past, and that our job descriptions, specifically Parks and Rec, be examined a lot closer. As was mentioned tonight, the review for Mark and his job description is, if you hold it up to a light with Erica's, it almost looks the same. There's a lot of difference in it, but in generality, it's the same, but it's not. Mark has a totally different job description than Erica does, but it tracks the same. And why would, even though there's a bit of a difference in salary range, it's not that different. and the libraries as well. It needs to be adjusted. We can't look at it as, oh, we've got two libraries. No, we've got an East Lake Library,
that
we've
was
got a Palmyra Parks and Rec Library. We got 4 different entities, and quit grouping 2 and 2.
That was the mainstay of a lot of our discussion, and what Bill just said. And like you said, we want to go forward, we want to make those changes, but at this point, we're looking back. Instead of, when we go forward, next year, we'll be looking back at what we did this year.
But granted, our chairman also brought a lot of statistics with her that she had done a lot of research prior to the meeting and brought in a lot of stuff that she did on her own time to show support for the changes that we should make. And it also helped us reflect on what we did financially as well. So.
And if I'm looking at the numbers off the top of my head, we're looking at 11% increase below us this year. If we add the COLA and the bonus.
9.25, I thought we said.
No.
Plus the bonuses.
Oh, we didn't consider the
We didn't
bonuses
consider that.
as part of the percentage.
9.2.
Any other further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And Northeast Library?
Yeah.
And, okay, now we're at Palm Harbor Library.
So I make a motion to give Matthew a 2% increase. in merit.
Second.
That's all right.
Any discussion?
Is,
Dan?
Bill, this 2% is significantly lower than everyone else's. Could it be something beyond? I wasn't at the discussion, remember,
You know,
so, but,
His performance is acceptable. I'm gonna divert to the board on this one, because that's where most of the discussion was. And I had some questions there myself, but I'm not gonna bring the questions here, but I'm just gonna revert to the rest of the board.
all right, so then I'll formulate the question specifically. Did the fact that it seems that the scaling system was different for Bill? Bill, do you feel that, because if he didn't get a lot of 5, 4 point whatever, I think his was in the 3s, which seemed appropriate to me based on my scaling and how I rated lowest, but do you feel that maybe you overeducated your board on that scaling process to get closer to the 3, and that is causing
Well,
his numbers to be less?
that's a good question, because the scaling process itself, if you look at it, he basically, Matthew is really meeting, he's effective, but he's meeting all the goals. So look, he's fully successful and he's an effective performance. And so he was in the 3 to 4 range. Everyone else was 4.5 to 4.7. Consistently. So, and again, is that ranking? Is that evaluation? Is that time and service? Is that the projects that we accomplished from the Palm Harbor Library versus the other entities? There's a lot of discussion that went into that process, to be honest with you, Dan. And so, and again, I was back and forth a little bit, with the yin and the yang, but the time and service and the goals, that's what we have to really focus on over the next year. We have to be laser focused on that, because if we achieve what we're doing, then this scale needs to be either higher, or we need to really get, quantified or consistent with the rest of the groups. Because again, I knew what everybody was gonna get going into this year. We kind of laughed about it. It was gonna be 4.5 to 4.7, if not higher, for the rest of the entities. I knew that. And I was consistent with Matthew for the last year, right in that 3 to 3.5, 3, in that range. He's effective doing the job. Is he a role model? I don't know that just yet, because it's a year in service. And so I'm not criticizing anything. I think where we're at as a board, where we're at as the ranking system, goals and objectives, what we're doing today, I think, within a 2 plus the 4.25, that's 6.25% increase. I mean, is it fair? I mean, I think it's okay, I think, myself personally. I don't know if the rest of the board wants to speak to it, but I mean, we had long discussion. on it.
Far better than last year.
John,
A lot more input, a lot more discussion, a lot
Yeah.
more,
And
not
one of the
hardly any sales versus discussion.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's not a sales pitch. We looked at each individual director as a individual. We didn't compare them against each other, because we've got to stop that. That's the downfall of this entire process. But we looked at it objectively based on the information provided through all the different review angles. And, you know, looking at, you know, increase in revenue, looking at different things where they shine is why we came up with the numbers that we came up with. So to answer your question, are we there yet? No. As Bill even said, we're not there yet. We still have to do, I called it the autopsy. We need to do a postmortem on this year and then build on it for next year. The goal is to make this least painful as possible, not just for the directors, but for us as well.
And I'm certainly not gonna compare say just even the two library directors, was similar job. I'm comparing the advisory board's ability to look at that scale in the same way.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's such a discrepancy between, so it's either he did perform at a lesser level than their counterparts did.
No, he's fully meeting the job requirements.
Right, so
And
the
so
three
everyone
seems
else,
appropriate.
everyone else is a role model. Everyone else is up here. Where Matthew fully meet all the job requirements. That's what we're saying as an advisory board.
So my question is, do you feel personally, seeing the scale, do you feel that the Palm Harbor Library Board underrated him, or did they rate him
Well,
appropriately?
I think we rated him fine. I think everyone else overrated.
Okay, that's what
Everyone else overrated him. You can't have Jesus walking on, 3 people walking on water consistently. You just can't have that. You know, I've never seen that in my career. Now, the difference with us, and I must admit, you know, we've got people that have been in the job for a long time. They're very seasoned professionals. And my thinking may be just whacked because of just the seasoned professionals we've got. Matthew's new coming into that process. And so it could be me just being, you know, evaluating tougher, but it may have nothing to do with the evaluation system. Maybe it's fair and objective, guys. I can't really, based on where the tenure of our employees are today. These guys are doing a great job, all of them. Are there role models? You're darn right there's role models in there. Now, could we have ranked Matthew higher on certain things? Probably, because he was probably a role model in certain things. But overall, after a year on the job, he's very effective. He's doing the job.
Dan, you missed the workshop, so it's kind of gonna fill in what we did. We didn't just look at numbers.
No, we
We
didn't.
didn't just do it on those numbers. We looked at every comment, we filled in, we looked at a bigger whole picture
Yeah.
during our
The
workshop.
self-reviews
a
were
long time
a
to go
good
through it.
help to what we
Well, thank you
made
for
to
that.
decide
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
I mean, really, the self-reviews that we were looking at, I mean, just, and as Lois said earlier, on the confusion on her side, and we get that, okay, we understand, but we didn't look at numbers. Matthew didn't put numbers on it.
Right, that was the other issue.
He put comments, and that's where we took a lot of our stuff from, but not only his comments, the advisory boards, and then, of course, our comments as well. So all of that was taken into account.
Because during our discussion, we just said the same thing you all did. We looked at the numbers and went, these don't help.
Right.
So we kind of, as a group, dug in deeper than that.
Okay,
And
yeah.
spent a long time discussing each thing. So
No.
I guess it's the.
That workshop was recorded, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
Yeah, you might want to listen. It was quite different. It was different. We really dug into a lot of that.
Mhm.
Yes, you did that.
I did.
We didn't
It was.
focus
Yeah,
on that.
and I agree with you on that one. See, I think from an overall group, we should probably spend 20-25 minutes per person, just rolling through and looking at, you know, from your questions to whatever, just understanding what those pluses and
Right.
minuses and.
And
we did a
talking
really
about
good
all
job
that
with
stuff
that.
too, bouncing it back and forth, there was some great ideas that you had.
Exactly,
Really,
exactly.
I compliment everybody. They
Yeah,
did a
That's why I
great-
think
we had a
you
really
guys-
good workshop. We really worked as a team.
Yeah.
And it worked
Yeah,
out.
we
And just a quick note, I didn't feel comfortable putting numbers, like, I just wanted to represent, you know, the things that I've been occupying my time with in terms of the comments and try to organize them best. But in terms of the comparison, I'm good. I'm happy. This is a great place. I love my colleagues. So I'm good. I appreciate, I appreciate the increases, the bonuses, that's wonderful. So, and this is a wonderful place to work, so.
We
it's,
brought up
all good here.
We have a good team.
several different times in our workshop, we brought up, we can't replace these guys.
Exactly.
The dollars are getting paid.
Exactly.
So if we don't keep them relatively happy and want to stay here, like he just said, then what are we gonna do? What are we gonna go out and find four people like
Billy
this?
is so right, and that's
Well,
how
not
the
just-
bonus came about, the retention
Right.
bonus discussion. Because again, Sandy, we're challenging each other. How do we really reward the talent that we have sitting around the table? And that was through the bonus structure in addition to, cost of
We
living
give them a
increases
good
and merit.
review process. That's how we reward them. That's how.
Ron, you're not wrong. This is
brought
the
that
first
up, too.
review I've received in my almost 14 years as director that actually had substance to it. That actually
That's
felt
what-
like,
We owe that to you.
but no,
Finally
honestly,
got it right.
that meant more to me than. I
The
mean,
whole
votes-
battle.
The race rate, the substance was.
Moving on.
I would like to say one thing.
We still have a vote.
As the 25-year employee, this has been the most civil, respectful, thoughtful process. And all of the data points that have been included in these reviews, in you making the decisions. First of all, I'm blown away by the amount of money that you're giving us, but I want to thank you. That's one of the best gifts, because we've been through
Yeah, it's not walking out of here
inquisitions and
feeling.
trials that, were just brutal for one or more of us, so thank you.
Okay, so we still didn't vote.
Yeah, we have a motion. on the
We have a
second.
motion on the table.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone in favor of the Palm Harbor Libraries Director's compensation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Damn, you're not voting.
He can't.
Well, technically, he can't.
Technically, he
Well, that's
can't.
right.
It's gotta be
Can't.
just.
It's gotta be just the four appointed and the representative.
Looping back into what Lois said, I just feel obligated because I know that the county,
didn't have to vote.
for our own edification, I know the county doesn't like to see, there's some still negative feelings when we give raises. Even though it might be in your budget or not. And, but I think what we're doing is we're actually recognizing how valuable you are. I just feel guilty. Okay, so, but
Don't feel
we
guilty.
feel the value in our directors. We want to get the compensation to the right level. And then once, and I feel like we've been playing a catch-up game for the last, 5 or 6 years to catch up. And Dan, you were one of the big proponents on, I think, a couple of years ago, that we needed to get our salaries in line with what.
Yeah.
Because we had bad salary ranges
Yeah.
at one side. So once we get all that and we get comfortable, the 5% or the 6% isn't gonna be a norm. It's not something we're gonna be able to do. And I think, what we're saying, we'll have measurable goals that we have to check off. And a merit raise isn't a guarantee. I still see a retention payment. I think that's what the county called it. Might be more in order, but anyways, that's my 2 cents.
We felt like
I'm done.
all good. We-
Do adjourn? Can I do that yet?
Not yet.
We got other things on the agenda.
Close, but they should be easier. They should be easier.
That was pretty easy.
Okay.
You weren't there for 2.5
Yeah.
hours.
You guys,
I was there in spirit.
okay.
I was, but I was thinking.
It's our annual meeting, so we do the election of offices. Did you prepare?
I believe if I understand how this has been done in the past, we have a simple little voting task. Is this what this has looked like in the past?
Mhm.
Okay, great. The 4 officers that we have been kind enough and generous enough with their time to run again. And if you could please fill these out, we would be most grateful.
This is where you're supposed to run away.
No, yeah, that's true, but yeah, this is a necessary evil. Evil you gotta do. Yeah. Gotta do.
Not an independent.
Oh, there,
At least there's a name on every one.
Yes.
so the other 2 open, that we can just put it right in if we wanted to.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Just asking.
John, I wrote your name in for every single one.
Dan, remember John.
Voted for
Sykes
Mickey
did.
Mouse on yours.
I didn't surprise my statement of the bill.
You better choice.
Make sure you sign it.
Yes.
Public record.
Didn't date it.
Have to date it, you have to sign it.
I don't think that-
It's
You
fine.
have to date it, it doesn't matter. if you date it, you just have to sign it.
You got them all there.
Okay, we'll let Shelby.
Don't hide in the corner and tabulate it.
30%.
Okay, guys. Thanks. We did bring this up at our workshop to bring up capital improvement reviews. And I guess one of the things that we discussed is that when we're trying to get some of these through, this is your opinion,
I don't remember.
and, when we're trying to develop capital improvements for the different entities, is that the board needs to come in and work together to help some of those things get along.
Like what?
Oh, it was our, no,
Yeah.
okay, well, it was,
I know what
it was our discussion on, it, actually, Mark's one
Yes.
brought it up.
Exactly.
But we said-
It's the board support to get behind. And how did we word them, to get behind
Collectively
Mark,
support.
collectively support
One
in
of
a
the
more
four
vocal
entities within
manner
all. Right.
with the county, with the Board of County Commissioners for the different entities, projects that they bring in. We were discussing the fact that Erica has got the multi-purpose shelter,
Rec center.
rec center
Mhm.
that will be under construction and very soon, we hope. And Mark's been wanting to get something, so we need to, rather than Mark come to us with an idea and what he's doing, that maybe we need to have a workshop and find out exactly what he's doing and help support it better. Is that kind of what I was saying?
Yeah, that's what
I was
you-
It is, because it was brought to our attention that Mark's processor to get the building and what the office basically, right, was pushed back 6 years. We didn't know about that. It was like, that's just kind of the thing that we were talking with Bill about it is. These are the things that we should be knowing about, so that way we can lend support.
In a corporate world, I used to have capital appropriation, a procedure, a FIGHTS procedure, and literally you would fill it out and over $10,000, whatever it was, and directors would sign off on it. They would bring it to us and we could actually document that as an input document. And basically, this is what we're trying to accomplish, the scope, et cetera, return on investment, whatever it may be. It may be safety, it may be health, whatever the justification is for. I've got plenty of those forms. I'll be happy to share with you if that's something that we want to consider. If we don't want to consider it, I don't know if it has to be that format.
Something like.
We want to put some muscle behind the big projects.
Exactly, that's really it. It's not really
We
approving.
want to
the big
sit down,
projects on
talk,
our
to you,
end.
give you
It's giving,
ideas.
it's being the muscle behind Mark to help bring these to the finish line.
I got it. No, got it.
So, yeah.
I know, I did. I remember.
Dan,
If I recall correctly, we did this before through a priority listing, where the four entities each prioritized and Fixes Board came up with it.
And
And
then
that was summarily dismissed by the county.
we're saying the county.
Project was bumped up to the top. That caused a lot of dismay for the other entities and a little disappointment and favoritism and all that. But. that's-
Again with the favoritism. Can you not let that go?
No, I'm just describing what.
I know, but it goes in public record and that's not accurate.
That, what I
It's the
just
past.
described, and
Moving
It
forward.
is the
Yeah, it's
past, but
past.
that's
It's the
why we're
past.
bringing
I'm
it.
saying we had that process in the past, we ranked them and it was dismissed. So if I'm hearing it right, we could do that again as a board, take it to the next level. We as a board vote on what we rank and then we put all of our attention on that top one.
that's not what we
Nope.
said.
No, that's what I'm suggesting, we take it to the next level, is that what?
That might be part of the
Might be
process,
part
but
of it.
the beginning of it is just to get some support, all of us collectively on the same page, as if we're all Mark. And we need what we need and getting that behind as a board members and getting it in front of people and talking to folks that we know and then maybe giving some ideas back to Mark or what can we do as a set some goals and steps that we can implement that would help him besides him going, well, I'm still trying.
To
I'll
drive
see you guys next
community
month.
engagement,
Right.
To push,
Right, that's right.
as opposed to us saying this is.
What are you, what are you
And-
doing this month? Anything new?
And
No, not yet.
it's getting our heads wrapped around what our entities want to do. So it's like Lois wants to put a second floor on her building. So we need to be aware of
We
what,
should know those talking points.
we
Every
need to.
bit of those
know.
talking points, we should all be aware of them. We should be able to. spread
Matthew
those out
might want to
to
put a second floor on here, so, there's.
Well, the whole idea was to make it an agenda item every month. That was one of the things, that we're gonna.
So we keep it fresh.
So we keep it fresh.
familiarity.
We don't just hear about it and then it goes away.
Right.
We wanna put we made that, as we had our discussion,
A
we decided to
reoccurring item.
have this on a monthly item, so we keep updated on all that stuff. Which we haven't been. Sometimes we hear it and then we don't hear anything for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, board members change, so.
And that's true.
Exactly.
We went
And that was the
back-
other reason to have it monthly.
Keep it fresh and keep it monthly.
Somebody new is gonna get up to speed
Mm.
as opposed to going, what?
Because
The
I've been
last
ringing this
time,
bell for a long
yeah,
time.
the last
Every
time it
board.
was a collective discussion was when we had to rank the penny for Pinellas projects. Really, that's when it was a board.
That was a
policy.
long time ago.
And that was a long time, it was 2017.
And
Right.
But, so the idea was not to create a list, or it's to put it on the agenda monthly.
Mhm.
And so that we keep
I
up
like
with
that.
what's happening.
Yeah.
If we get input each time. I know you
And-
put your director's report, but
Mhm.
we want to focus on.
That's also a goal for the reviews.
Right. So
Yeah.
work on that.
So on that agenda item, so I understand your expectation as a board, for example, if I were to get a demolition date, that would be something
Yeah,
that during,
the update.
just, okay, that's.
So that, if you're making progress.
your report.
Separate from your, so that the board's aware, because sometimes in the report, we're talking about so many things. But these are
Yeah.
things where you might say,
Right.
this got pushed back, this
Mhm.
happened. It's not mixed in with everything, because these are big
Mm.
projects. And sometimes the board gets lost,
Mhm.
or, like you said, the board changes, so
So
we miss
when
them on.
we send out our monthly items, then we should have, besides our financials and our director's report, other issues listed under capital improvement reviews, like we've started our capital campaign for the
Yeah.
phase 2.
Mhm.
We were gonna do the book for brunch to unveil the renderings and such, and unfortunately, with all
And
that
this way-
happened, we postponed it. But
We'll
that would be the
highlight it.
kind of thing that would be on there.
Right.
The
Right,
director should be prepared to talk about the highlight points that we've selected collectively for
Mhm.
each of the entities to discuss each month.
and it's for us.
No matter
and
what new
we
board
want to-
members
we
come
want to
into.
highlight these things.
Okay.
at our
Right.
meeting.
And wouldn't Ron, as our liaison, be a tool to use for those conversations, you're talking about community engagement and,
Mhm.
because I don't think Ron,
Absolutely.
we've involved Ron in any of those type of things.
I was going to say, this is like my 19th meeting, and Mark has basically brought the same report 19 times. And I don't know that he's any further down the road than he was 19 months ago. And if I don't, I'm assuming the rest of the board would be the same way. And what I think we're in the discussion at the workshop, the idea was, let's put some muscle, let's all get on board and say, Mark's project is important to fix that. And your building is important, and if you start demolition 2 months from now, and for some reason, usually a problem caused by the county, sorry, Nancy, then, if we know that, that helps us know what's going on and to understand it better.
It's more for us to help you, we didn't highlight this corner. We learned a lot from Bill we all learned a
Yeah,
lot about
we
what
did.
we didn't know. Is that he enlightened us a lot, and that's what kind of brought this up. This was Bill's.
And to kind of piggyback on what Ron was saying too, is that if you guys need help with talking points for us, talking to the community out there as well. I mean, we're not just here, we're also out in the community in different areas. If there's different people we can talk to and different things like that to help garner more support. Because you guys do great rattling your sabers, but can we do more if we have thousands more rattle sabers with, the powers that be? So, not guaranteeing anything, but let's, help you guys out.
We expect to see that on every agenda. So here we go.
Other thing,
Oh.
just if I may, I'm sure, the One of the main reasons that I'm on this board is I want to get our employees benefits, the county benefits. And again, we always talk brick and mortar, but how do we really position our employees to get county benefits for the retirement that, you know, we talk villages, we talk everything else and I see you're shaking your head no. You know, but is that an acceptable answer for us to always just say it's never going to happen? No, no, no. We don't know the cost. We don't know that.
We've asked, that's why that's why they're shaking their head now. We've gone and asked
Well,
several times. I'm not saying you should stop. I'm just
Every
telling
time I
you.
see Commissioner Eggers, I always ask him.
I mean, we've gone
I
there,
asked him
we've
10 times.
we've
probably.
met with the county administrator.
And
we've
things have
asked.
changed even within the county as to how they, you know.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to
They're-
keep to ask, but we have physically gone there and asked.
Well, and I would just like to constantly for us to beat that drum. If we're beating it on the brick and mortar side of it, again, is
No,
there
it would be
something we can
great.
do to help our employees? That's all I'm doing. Because we are, our employees are everything to us. And how do we reward them?
Well,
You know,
Well, okay.
part of that reward because of what you're talking about helps soften the fact that we do give merit raises and we.
Yeah, no, I know,
increase
that's why we do it.
to-
I know, I understand
To
it.
offset
I
that.
understand that.
And it's not just to reward, it's to retain.
No,
That's
and-
part of the
and-
problem for our
Okay.
employees.
Let's stick to the
But-
capital.
But what you're saying,
Mhm.
there's no reason we can't keep
We need to.
beating that drum. There's no reason. I shook my head no because I've heard the reasons, we've talked about it. I know the answer's gonna come no, but you know, one day when you ask it, maybe something will change and they'll say, you know, they are county employees, kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of.
So just related to what Bill's talking about, I do wonder, because each of our entities is pretty different, the capital expenses do tend to be higher ones, but that's not always the most significant thing we might need support on, so I just wondered if this section of the agenda each time would it need to be limited to capital or priorities, or is there some flexibility in how that's used as an umbrella?
Well, let's,
do
you
one.
have okay, well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
We're only saying that capital because it was something we were talking about. We felt there was a need.
Right.
There is nothing that you should not bring to us.
No, I just wondered,
Support.
because in terms of trying to honor the spirit of what this is, coming together and lending additional support. But I don't have an exact idea or anything like that, but I was wondering out loud about
You
that.
can always send it something to put on the agenda.
Right.
I stopped sending out reminders every month, but
Something else.
if you have something. I haven't said, if you send it, I'll put it on the agenda. You just have to send it to me at least 4 or 5 days from ahead, so I get it.
I think the idea was not was not specific to just capital improvement. It was more a general statement that to let you all know that we as a whole have your back
Yeah,
on
for our-
anything
for our
that you want to
priorities.
bring up.
Yeah.
And it's been this past year and I said it to the head of your advisory board. I said, the comments that an advisory board has lost lost respect in or lost, or it has no,
Confidence.
lost confidence in the fixable. So that's got to change. We cannot let that happen anymore. And he said that he said it's changed within the advisory board. And I said, that's where we've got to make sure that doesn't happen. We've got to show our support for each of our directors.
Right.
So that the advisory boards know that, and so that never happens again, or we try to not allow it to happen.
Okay, we didn't have to vote on that. That was just.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's
Can we roll back to the elections that you counted?
I have calculated.
Okay.
You used your phone, or did you have a calculator?
No, I
You have to
did
wait
it.
till
I
next
did it in
week.
my head.
Mickey Mouse
Um,
is gonna be the.
Sandy Faulkner will retain her position and Bill Phillips will stay vice chair. Thank you very much. John Buck. Hold back, hold back.
I don't care, just,
Okay,
make sure my paycheck.
Mr. Treasurer.
Johnny,
Mr. Treasurer, thank you very much.
Johnny, that's what everyone else calls me.
And Bill Mazur, having done your job one time, I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Last thing on our agenda is we talked about setting up workshops. We talked about goal setting for and by the directors, I mean, we're asking from them. And we also talked about job descriptions, pay scale adjustments. The question is, do you want to have one workshop or two? Go to board,
Start with one.
one or the other,
No, start with
Start with
one.
one.
See what you get.
do one with one workshop.
Try.
Well, there's a couple of items we gotta go, we need to review in them. I mean, the goal setting and the job descriptions, but then we also have to do the breakdown of how this review went and how do we want to change it? I mean, that's was something we had discussed as being one of the workshops to do early on. Like in the first, 2 months of the
I
year.
think that's that one first one, right.
Right, well,
I got that.
and that way we can build off of it,
Right.
we're not.
Yep.
Running
All these ideas
scrambling
are
at the
floating
end.
around right now, get that
Exactly.
done.
Right.
So you're not
Exactly.
going, well, we still gotta do that.
So we want to set a workshop to review what we did this year.
Postmortem.
okay?
Yeah, postmortem, we can actually add goal setting
And do we
in
want
that.
to add?
Yeah, continuous improvement
You wanna
in that
make
process.
like
Yeah.
what-
Yeah.
And put together.
That one should be combined. This one should be later because it's
That
gonna
one's
give
later.
HR.
That's gonna
time
do
to
HR.
do it.
Okay.
Right.
So we're gonna do a goal setting, and we're going to do reviewing the process, reviewing our process. Our postmortem.
So we're, just a question, we're gonna have goals in addition to our established goals in our.
Some of it
meeting?
from us.
So many. You don't even know.
We're working on it, just,
No, I was just curious, because we all had goals in our eval or annual evals.
I think we wanted to make it more, well, we're working on our process to make it more of a focus. I guess.
If we have some good
That's what we want to
examples,
talk
we can
about.
bring in.
We want to review what we're doing. All right, so
Sandy, the job description on that, it is going to require.
yes, but we.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, no,
That's
that's totally,
a different one.
Mhm.
that's on
That's
its
gonna
own.
require,
We just kicked
Got
that
it.
we
can.
just kicked that over to you.
No problem.
I was like, that we weren't talking loud enough, maybe. Okay, so it's their January, any dates to throw out, guys, we'll plan it so we all can plan around it. Do you wanna do another Wednesday night like we just did this one?
Well, this one was on a Thursday night.
It was on Thursday.
Everyone keeps saying Wednesday, no, it was Thursday.
Thursday.
Because I went to the library on Wednesday night and there was nobody there and I'm like, the words that came out of my mouth, I think your club outside was like laughing at me.
Okay, we can do it, we just try to get a
Can't
date.
do Wednesday.
Can't do Wednesday. How about a Thursday?
I think we should start with Beth's calendar. I think she'd be the linchpin to the whole thing. That's just my opinion. I mean, we gotta get a professional room to do this thing. That, again, not saying we can't do it, but to review a process.
that
on
works.
an
We wanna make
HR.
sure everybody shows up for the workshop, so.
That's the whole thing.
The 15th through the 20th, I'm not available, but I'm available any other Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever.
That's right.
Other people
Friday.
scheduling.
I can adjust it.
I have nothing. No, not Friday. Wednesday or Thursday? Anyone want to throw a date out there?
22nd?
22nd, Wednesday?
No, that's our advisory.
That's our.
Oh, that's our meeting
our
here.
meeting.
Oh, never mind.
No, the 22nd is the first Wednesday. Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
you're right.
so that's-
Right, next month.
Yeah.
Don't just backstab.
It's a 5 Wednesday. month. It is a 5 Wednesday.
Stand by word.
I'll tell a meeting every freaking Wednesday.
How many
We
people?
usually have one every frickin' Tuesday.
I work every Tuesday.
This week.
There's a Wednesday, the 22nd. How many people does it work for? Make it.
I can make it.
I can make it.
Okay, I think we got a good, anybody not make it?
That's an evening,
It's
Yes.
an evening.
Wednesday, the 22nd, I'm cool.
You later tell.
We have the availability here if you'd like to do it here.
Was that a yay or nay?
Both.
He's not
Make it
on
happen,
board.
show up.
Exactly.
I can be there.
It'll be like a Phil. Oh, I forgot. I know where to be.
Wrong day.
As long as I see Ron the night before.
Oh, right. That's fine.
Wednesday, January 20th, 6 P.M. We're good there. Location
Here.
here.
We do have availability here, if that's where.
Where?
You have
Palm Harbor.
availability.
Palm Harbor
Here,
Library.
Palm Harbor Library. And I will put it on the next agenda.
Where's that?
Or Erica can get us travel too.
Yeah.
Where's our next
Okay, and
meeting?
I
East Lake.
East Lake?
settled
Like
it.
Pleasant.
And just summer.
East Lake Library next month, December 18th.
Remember, party at 5:30.
Party at 5:30, celebration party at 6:30, we'll do our meeting. At the end, we have a motion for adjournment.
I do motion that.
Oh, shit.
Second.
You're gonna beat me.
All in favor?
Hi, see you later.
All right, Lois, good.
Okay.
Okay, you can't run away.
Hey.
It's not.
Exactly.
Literally recording.
You go to your book club.
Everybody else was make the unanimous vote. Oh.
You're in the car.
We wanna help. So did you? Downstairs, you did. I knew you ordered for it.
So we could drive by one day to get that second floor. Did you like, when I'm standing there, I want to around the future. Did you like it?
We still have our.
We had our meeting at our.
Always at the door.
I bet I said that. Yeah, you guys. I brought it up with our.
Oh, that's all.
Really? Still standing.
Johnson. As you should.